Okay, we're live.
Make her a panelist. Welcome everyone to the hybrid Board of Veterinary Medicine meeting. We're going to show a video to explain how members of the public can interact with the, or wait a minute, are we not live yet?
We are.
We are,
I just don't
okay.
know how to make her as a panel.
Okay, that's fine. I've lost my spot. Welcome everyone to the Board of Veterinary Medicine. We're going to show a short video about how members of the public can interact with the board during the meeting, and then we will call the meeting to order. Mia, we can't hear the video.
Welcome to the Professional and Vocational Licensing Virtual Board Meeting. When the meeting begins momentarily, the chair will take a roll call, explain any specific rules for this particular board, and then move to public comment. The name of the board member will appear on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. For instance, this is board member Y, and this is board member E. Public testimony will be accepted at the beginning of the meeting and before each agenda item. You can indicate that you are ready to testify by clicking on the Raise Hand button being circled by the mouse on your screen now. At the appropriate time, the board will recognize you to speak and ask you to unmute your mic as shown here. Again, public testimony will be accepted at the beginning of the meeting and before each agenda item. Public attendees will not be able to unmute their microphone until recognized by the board. Public attendees who are recognized to testify will be asked to identify themselves by name and their affiliated organization if applicable. Please mute your microphone when you are finished speaking as a courtesy to others and members of the board. Public attendees will not be able to unmute themselves after the testimony is completed unless recognized again after raising their hand. At some point during the meeting, the board may choose to move into executive session. When the board moves into executive session, the board members' microphones and video feeds will be turned off, and a similar screen as you see now will be displayed. When the board returns from executive session, their microphones will be turned on as well as their video cameras. Welcome again to the Professional and Vocational Licensing Virtual Board Meeting. At this time, the chair will call the meeting to order and take a roll call, as well as explain any additional rules that may be specific to this board.
I guess we're calling the meeting first to read this. Okay. So as far as to view the meeting and provide live oral testimony, please use the link at the top of the agenda. You'll be asked to enter your name. The board requests that you enter your full name, but you may use a pseudonym or other identifier if you wish to remain anonymous. You will also be asked for an email address. You may fill in this field with an entry in an email format, for example, name@email.com. Your microphone will be automatically muted. When the chairperson asks for public testimony, you may click the raise hand button found in your Zoom screen to indicate that you wish to testify about that agenda item. The chairperson will individually enable each testifier to unmute their microphone. When recognized by the chairperson, please unmute your microphone before speaking and mute your microphone after you finish speaking. If you cannot get internet access, you may get audio-only access by calling the Zoom phone number listed at the top on the agenda. Upon dialing the number, you will be prompted to enter the meeting ID, which is also listed at the top of the agenda. After entering the meeting ID, you'll be asked to either enter your panelist number or wait to be admitted into the meeting. You will not have a panelist number, so please wait until you are admitted into the meeting. When the chairperson asks for public testimony, you may indicate you want to testify by entering star and then the number 9 on your phone's keypad. After entering star and then 9, a voice prompt will let you know that the host of the meeting has been notified. When recognized by the chairperson, you may unmute yourself by pressing star and then the number 6 on your phone. A voice prompt will let you know that you are unmuted. Once you are finished speaking, please enter star and then 6 again on your phone again to mute yourself. For both internet and phone access when testifying, you'll be asked to identify yourself and the organization, if any, that you represent. Each testifier will be limited to 5 minutes of testimony per agenda item. If connection to the meeting is lost for more than 30 minutes, the meeting will be continued on a specified date and time, and this information will be provided on the board's website. So I will now take roll call. So members, when I call your name, please respond present or here. And those members who are joining us virtually, if you could state if you are alone or if there is someone with you. Dr. Craig Nishimoto, licensed member.
Present, no one else is in the room.
Dr. Lisa Wood, licensed member.
Present and alone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wood. Eileen Wada, public member. And myself, Marcella Chalk, chair, is present. So I will now call the meeting to order, and the time is 10:16 in the morning. The date, should I be before?
No, just say so.
Okay, so is there anyone who would like to offer testimony on agenda item 1? As we,
Sorry, agenda item 2.
oh, item 2, then, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So, agenda item 2,
Thank you, Chair. This is Johnny. We do not have anyone requesting to provide testimony.
thank you. So starting, agenda number 2, legislative measures. So we have 2A with House Bill 1527.
Yes, so we have provided you with copies of all the bills that we'll be discussing today. House Bill number 1527 is a bill to prohibit animal owners and their employees from performing any surgical procedures on the owner's animal or animals, prohibits the alastration or castration via banding of a pet animal, provides that a violation of the prohibitions is a Class C felony, clarifies that the offense of cruelty to animals in the first degree does not apply to accepted veterinary practices, and that the cropping or docking as customarily practiced when the procedures are performed by a licensed veterinarian. So there's a couple of additions that, if this bill were to pass, would go into our statute, chapter 471. The first is that pet animal will be added to the definitions, and the definition will be the same as in chapter 711-1100. That definition is a pet animal means a dog, cat, domesticated rabbit, guinea pig, domesticated pig, or caged birds. I am not going to butcher the terms for caged birds, but there's 3 of them. So long as not bred for consumption. So that's what the pet animal definition is that would be added. Oh, I guess I should have said before we got started on the actual bill. So we're meeting, we can, because these bills will significantly change the board's statute, the board needs to decide if they're in support of the bill, if they are not in support of the bill, if they are just have comments on the bill that they feel they would like to share with the legislature, so that we can provide testimony, because it will be changing our statutes if these are passed. So, did anybody have any comment on the term pet animal or having that added to the statute? Or should I move on? No, okay. The next section that the bill would change is 471-2, licensed required. Specifically, item number 2, subsection 2, which states that the owner of any animal or animals and the owner's full-time regular employees from caring for and treating any animals belonging to the owner. That's an exception to having to have a veterinary license. If you own the animal or you're an employee of the owner of the animal, you can do certain things that generally would require a license, but you don't need one. This statute, this proposed change to the statute would add to that, the owner and the owner's employees don't need a license, provided that the owner and the owner's employees shall not perform any surgical procedures on the animal, including cesarean section, ear cropping, tail docking, ventriculocordectomy or banding, devocalization or debarking, onchectomy or declaw removal, I can say that word, and the elastration or castration via banding of a pet animal. That's the change to that section. Do we have any comment on that?
So question, so it seems that they removed all the, what I would have been, what I would have objected to, like, surgical things. So it would leave just medication? Did I miss something?
I think an owner or a pet or the employee could still do such things as medication, obviously giving medication. Looks like if you were a cattle rancher, you could still do inoculations. You could do subcutaneous fluids, you could do wound care. They're just taking out these surgical type things. It looks like.
So the intent was just to make it clear exactly what is not allowed, and everything else would be.
It appears that way to me. Dr. Nishimoto, Dr. Wood, would you have anything to add?
Yeah, so currently, I'm just looking at the current statutes. So number 2, 471-22, it's not itemized out as far as the procedures. I guess that's the difference. So all those items A through F are being added in.
Would be added in, yes.
Right, okay. So my comments would be, I don't have any particular problems with that, but it should be pet animals, in my opinion, where the Senate bill lists dogs up at the top
Mhm.
of item 2, and the House bill has just pet animals on item F.
Mhm.
So my comment would be the term pet animal should be included where in replacing dog or dogs
Okay,
on line 2.
so that would be on Senate Bill 2562. You would like it,
They all need to be consistent.
To include cat, so not just dogs, because cats, I don't think.
Yeah.
It's
so would it be safe to say in Senate Bill 2562, you would like it to, let me restate that. You prefer House Bill 1527 because it includes all pet animals, whereas Senate Bill 2562 concerns only dogs.
right, but all pet animals for all those
All pet
procedures. Right now, any a farm animal would be restricted. A farmer couldn't do a tail dock on a sheep, let's say, which is a common practice in sheep ranching,
Okay,
because there's no restriction or exception for food animals.
okay, so you would like it to read under, on both.
Right.
472.2.2, starting at provided. After that semicolon, line 5, we'd like it to read, provided that the owner and the owner's employees shall not perform any surgical procedures on the pet animal or animals, or pet animals.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense.
Dr. Wood, you have any comment on that?
Yeah.
Can you folks hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Okay. I do have a couple of concerns. I do believe that the House bill is too broad by using the terminology animal or animals. It doesn't specify pet animals or
Okay.
more specifically dogs, which in our practice at least would be the target of this kind of legislation. We don't see rampant C-sections of anything, honestly. We do know that there are people doing C-sections and ear crops of dogs, that and these people are not licensed. And I believe that's the intent of the bill, is to crack down on those kinds of activities.
Okay.
Tail docking and the castration in production medicine is commonly done by the owners, as Dr. Nisho stated. So I would have concerns about including that language in there. As people that work in production medicine, we have to be very vigilant that these types of legislation can't be used against us in a way that would prohibit us from harming our normal management duties for these animals.
So I think this is talking about specifically exclusions, people who don't need a veterinary license. And this is specifically geared towards the owner of the animal and their employees. It's not talking about the veterinarians.
Understood.
Yeah. So I don't know that this would affect production medicine, yeah?
So in production medicine, it is the owners that do a large amount of this type of.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so, but if we put in pet animals, rather, specifically that these are not to be done on pet animals, then that would, or animals that are being raised, how does the thing say it, not for consumption, would that alleviate your concerns?
Pet animal would, I'm thinking of the pot-belly pigs and the other smaller pigs that are not typically raised for consumption, but can be.
Mm-hmm.
And we do have producers over here or owners here that raise the animals for sale. And those animals may go to a home that eventually will consume them. And I don't want to criminalize those people. Tail docking and castration are procedures that are done for the well-being of the animal. And I don't want to hinder their ability to do those things.
So I guess my question then, the spirit of this new language, is it really, it's really the problem with dogs? Are they the only ones that are? I guess the question is that if we kept the procedure on dog or dogs instead of saying pet animals or, you know, making it open, would that be acceptable?
In my practice, that's the way I understand it. And the Senate bill addresses it specifically to dogs. It
Yeah,
limits the language to dogs, which I am more comfortable with than
Okay.
the House. I will tell you that there are many breeders who do their own tail docking. Tail docking needs to be done early on. We usually try to encourage our clients to tail dock by day 3. If they happen to be born on a Thursday and they can't get an appointment to come in, again, it creates a hardship for the owners. And many of them are very capable of performing that duty, that procedure.
I guess I can accept the term dogs instead of pet animals, but it should be at the top of the list and not just be for castration only or use of the illustrator, or I guess it's, yeah.
I think the Senate bill has it worded that way.
Yeah, but not the House bill, the way it reads. Yeah, other species are included. Yeah, the way the House bill reads, a farmer couldn't do tail docking. Isn't that how you interpret it?
That's how I interpret it.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. So we have to specify the species included at the top of the list.
On the House bill, page 2, line
7.
7 and 8, where it
Right.
says animal or animals. If you look at the Senate bill on page 2, line 1, line 2, it says they shall not perform any surgical procedures on a dog or dogs. They limit the
Yeah, I'm good with that.
What do you think about the tail docking?
So tail
What-
docking, it's subjective. So tail docking less than 7 days, I think an owner can do, but they shouldn't be doing tail amputations at 6 months because I don't think it
I agree. I agree.
it specifies that we should be more specific if we're gonna allow lay people to do tail docking.
So then on tail docking, line 11 on the House bill,
11C.
11C, well, line 11, it's line 11 on the, item C on the House bill, line 6, item C on the Senate bill. Would you, like to make a recommendation that they put tail docking and, in parentheses, on animals 7 days or younger? Or is there a better way to put that? I'm just thinking out loud.
Older, yeah, older.
No, no older than 7 days.
Yeah, for myself, I'm okay with that, but I think you're gonna have animal welfare people that don't want any tail docking in dogs. So
Exactly.
And I'm sure that's why it got into the bill.
right.
But you're the medical profession and the veterinary profession, and if you feel that breeders or lay people could do this up to 7 days without endangering the animal, you can make that statement that, and you'd like to see that you don't want to have someone facing a felony or a misdemeanor if the pup or the cat or whatever animal, the sheep, is under 7 days, yeah. Well, the sheep would probably be
Not included.
it's not a pet animal usually, so.
Yeah, it's not a dog, so it would be allowed.
So you would be okay to make a comment there, no older than 7 days?
For myself, I would be okay.
So,
So if we put this bill into place and my neighbor who raises Australian Shepherd tail docks his puppies on day 8, would he be turned in to
They could
the-
be.
so, yes, that if this became law and you put 7 days.
Honestly, I'm not too worried about tail docking. I'm worried about C-sections and ear cropping. I don't
Well,
know
you could
anybody
just-
who does debarking. And I agree with the castration via banding. But I believe a lot of these, the breeders are competent and very capable of performing the docks with care.
Yep. I'm worried about the age thing though, if we allow them to do it. Well, I guess right now it's open, it's not specified, they're not supposed to do it anyway, if we consider it
Right.
veterinary medicine. So we can just take it
Right.
off. It's just not gonna be itemized out.
That's kind of what I think. If we start seeing people doing a lot of amputation, we can take another look at it.
Yeah, well, we can still bring them up for complaints, or they can be brought up with enforcement
Sure.
on an adult dog. And we can say, yes, that is practicing veterinary medicine on a 6-month-old dog.
Right.
So we
because
could, right,
just-
so,
Yeah. Just
So-
because we don't specify it
Right.
doesn't mean it's still okay. Right. Yeah.
so we can,
So maybe to make the animal welfare people, maybe giving them a little something, when would you consider a pup too old to dock their tail without veterinary intervention? Anesthesia or pain medicine or, how old is a dog before you would be concerned that someone other than a veterinarian is docking their tail? Is it 2
Okay,
months?
I'm sure that
3 months?
I'm sure that that's documented somewhere when they have more pain awareness. Honestly, I'd have to look that up for you to know for sure.
I wouldn't be comfortable with 8 weeks or older. Definitely, I think they're too old to be without anesthesia. I mean, if they're gonna do them, they should be doing them early,
Yeah.
but that's my opinion.
I think we need to be aware that there have to be instances to rally up people who basically try to put this and change what's in the statutes. So I would be curious as to why they're asking for that. Have they been reported animals that have been cropped and docked and done? Because I haven't read anything in the newspaper and I haven't read anything, so I'm just kind of curious. I mean, Terry, do you know, is this an organization that is just down the hole about?
I have no information
Yeah.
on who approached the legislature to put these together.
No, but I mean,
It sounds like something
Yes, I guess
happened.
Dr. Nishimoto and Dr. Wood, have you both seen any complications of owners that may have performed these procedures that they have to bring their dogs into your practices for any kind of like emergency correction? I mean, just some kind of complication as a result of what they did at home. I mean,
Def- Definitely for ear cropping, I have. Yeah, I think they have no business doing that.
Agreed, and we've seen some castration with.
Right,
wrong.
and they shouldn't be doing that either. The tail docking, for me, it's an age thing. The age of the patient.
So maybe
agree.
that the position is that if we leave it out, but then from the professional, they have not seen complications to raise awareness as and compared to all the others that are called out here. Yeah,
Okay, so we could make comment that we would like to see item C, tail docking removed, because there does not seem to be, how would you say that? Complications.
that have resulted from whatever is being currently done.
I guess I would say in young puppies, make that clarification. I wouldn't want to leave it open.
In young puppies.
Right.
Puppies. As, okay. Does not appear to be a profession does not seem to have seen complications of owner tail docking.
I would say in neonatal puppies.
In neonatal.
Yeah.
Thank you. See, this is why you guys are on the board.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. So is the consensus that we're going to make a comment that we would like to see tail docking removed because the profession has not seen complications of owner docking in neonatal puppies?
Right. And they can decide if they're gonna do something else for adult dogs, tail,
Okay.
That's a different story.
Or should we put in that tail docking not acceptable in adult dogs? I mean, do the reverse now, if that's the concern. It should not be done by the owner in adult dogs.
I think that's what Dr. Wood was saying, that she would prefer.
Instead of doing the puppy, do the adult side now. I mean, because that seems to be where it would be cool, because I'm sure the dog would be clean. This is about.
Well, we could get that detailed, however, we would support, leaving tail docking in if it was geared towards adult dogs.
Right. Older.
And in veterinary medicine, do you folks have like a certain age where you folks are gonna say this is considered risky for a non-licensed veterinarian to tail dock a dog?
Right. We would have to do more research on what they're considering the age differential.
Okay. Would somebody like to look that up so that when I go to give testimony, if someone has that question as a follow-up, I would have it in my back pocket? Let's say like the
Sure.
AVMA suggests that it should not be done on dogs older than such and such without veterinary care. Dr. Wood, did you say you would do that for me?
Yes, when is the testimony due?
I don't know, they haven't scheduled it yet. So, you know, whenever you have a chance to do it, but when I know it's coming up for, testimony, I'll certainly, if I haven't heard from you, I'll let you know, when the testimony is scheduled.
Okay, I'll try to get something together within the next 2 days. I know when they call these bills up, sometimes you only have 24 hours, so.
Yeah, they want us to be ready, so, okay, but thank you. I think I have that wording down for, saying that we would, recommend removing tail docking. Although if they put in for adult dogs, we would support it. And we're okay with all the other procedures, but we would like it to, in the House bill say, on line 7 and line 8, say pet animal or pet animals.
I think it's a dog or dog.
Well, that's the Senate bill.
Right. They
Yeah.
wanted it consistently for these procedures.
Well,
Right.
well, so are these procedures, do you see these procedures being done on other animals other than dogs? Obviously, some of them are specifically for dogs, but, do you see cesarean sections on other pet animals that that owners or their employees are doing? And, castration on other, animals like cats or, pet pigs or,
We do see it on pigs.
But it would be
and we
allowed
see it on cats, yeah.
if it's on the dogs on the top, right?
Yeah, I would prefer the language in the Senate bill, personally.
and so you're not concerned about you think this is really geared towards dogs and not really all pet animals?
Like,
In my experience, yeah.
So,
Go ahead.
so, which is true, I've never seen a real top cat, but, or. I have seen some cats with a stubby tail, you know, I mean, so, but we don't think it's that predated like dogs, so it's not an issue.
well, they may neuter their own cats. You know, farm cats. That's possible. I don't know. You think that's a problem, Dr. Lisa?
I don't think it's a problem, no.
We kind of wish they would
Why
neuter their
not?
farm cats. So if I'm hearing correctly, you think that this should be geared towards dogs and not all pet animals because the profession has not seen these procedures being done on other animals other than the dogs.
Way I feel, yes.
I guess, Dr. Wood, so what you're suggesting, like for the House Bill 1527, looking at page 2, line 7, where it says procedure on animal or animals, that we're consistently to reflect what the Senate bill to say dog or dogs.
Yes.
And
And
then
then-
we, right, go ahead.
And even on line 15, it says, illustration or castration, the abandoning of a pet animal, that to change that to a dog as well, or dogs.
Or would you
Or-
like that
or
pet
just
animal
remove.
because of the pigs? Do you really want people trying to
Mhm.
castrate, ban their pot-bellied or other pigs? I know if you don't do that right, you can really hurt the animal, but I don't know if it's a problem.
It's done in sheep. Piglets, I haven't seen a lot of banded piglets, but we have a lot of producers that still ban sheep, some that still ban their calves. And again, I think the narrower the bill, the more protection we have for our production.
Okay, so just, we can remove the pet animal at the bottom and just keep it at dogs. Or recommend putting it in House Bill as dogs. Wouldn't that be
Mm.
acceptable?
The Senate bill just specifies any surgical procedure on a dog or dogs, including, and then it lists all the procedures. I think the language should be consistent. My guess
Okay.
is they were supposed to be sister bills.
Right,
I would just put the language.
Okay,
the
so,
Senate language.
okay, so. I want to make sure I have my thoughts in order for when I write up the testimony. The board prefers the language in Senate Bill 2526 where we refer to dog or dogs rather than pet animals. The board suggests either removing C, tail docking, because the profession does not see complications of owner or owner-employee performing tail docking in neonatal neonatal puppies. The board would support banning tail docking if it was confined to adult dogs.
I would call it tail amputation versus docking at that point. I think there's a difference in that. Amputation generally would be done for a kind of injury or medical condition. Tail docking is more of a breed standard. The way I look at it, I don't know. What do you think, Craig?
Well, our terminology, but I know I've had owners want tail amputations for breed standards in older dogs. So I don't know if they would do it on their own, but so it's a terminology thing.
I think the intent is we don't want them performing surgery on adult dogs.
Okay. All right, I'll work on that wording and
Yeah.
I'll get it out to the board, how I'm proposing to write it in the testimony, and you can tell me if I've got the wording the way you want it.
Okay.
I think I have it. Okay, so the only other part in both of these bills has to do with changing the wording in 471-15. In the Senate bill, that's on page 4. In the House bill, it's page 4 as well. Let me go find section 15. Section 15 currently reads much longer than I thought it was. Currently reads, any person convicted of violating section 471-2 shall have committed a misdemeanor and be subject to a fine not to exceed $500 or imprisoned not more than 6 months or both. And then it talks about all the tools, implements, appliances, etc. Shall be forfeited to the state by the court and turned over to the board for disposition as it may choose. The House bill changes the first paragraph to say, except as provided in subsection B, any person convicted of violating 472-2 shall have committed a misdemeanor and be subject to a fine not to exceed $500 or imprisonment of not more than 6 months or both. So it's saying if they've done anything other than what's in B, it's still a misdemeanor. And then it adds a B, both the Senate and the House bill add a B. The House bill says any person convicted of violating subsection 472 2 shall have committed a Class C felony and be subject to a fine of not to exceed $10,000 or imprisonment not more than 5 years or both. The B on the Senate bill is all about the disposal of the implements and tools. It doesn't have anything about a felony. So let's talk first if you're okay with B, or if you have no comment on B, or if you're opposed to B on the House bill, the felony portion. Any person
So-
can.
So my question, in other states, what are their penalties for similar infractions? Is it a felony?
I did not look that up. I can't answer. Let's find out real fast. I have this
And-
handy pocket computer, so.
And then my comment on the fine amount on the Senate side, it's only $500. In these days, that's not much money as a fine, but I don't know, that's my opinion. If
Yeah,
you're gonna
so
stay
that's-
with,
That's what's currently in our 471-15 for the misdemeanor. It's the $500 fine.
Yeah, somewhere between $500 and $10,000 might be appropriate. I think
Right.
10,000 is too high. 5 years imprisonment. The House bill is quite aggressive. In addition to that, it further, if you scroll down on page 5, it talks about cropping or docking as customarily practiced when the procedure is performed by a vet license. And again, I don't have any problem with the cropping, but the docking, I don't think needs to be done by a licensed veterinarian. I know breeders who are fully capable. of doing this
I guess it
procedure.
depends on the definition of docking and the age.
Yeah.
It's not defined, so I don't think we can make it legal.
I would kind of leave it with the language it has right now with you can't perform surgery if you're not a licensed veterinarian. Becomes an issue, you can pursue it. The Senate bill does not address that. Leaves that out completely. Talks about the disposition of the implements and tools. Doesn't further specify.
So on B in the House bill, the Class C felony, the fine shall not exceed 10,000. It doesn't mean they're going to be fined $10,000. It says you can't exceed 10,000. So I guess it would depend, on whatever the court decided happened, right? Is it
Right.
And then imprisonment of not more than 5 years. Just briefly, I did a real quick Google search. California has both misdemeanors and felonies for animal cruelty, depending on, doesn't say what, I didn't dig that far down, but they do have both misdemeanors and felonies, depending on what this.
Right. Yeah, I don't know if it's particularly cruelty versus practicing veterinary medicine without a license.
Yeah,
Let me see what that would be.
so, so I don't know, do you have any, I missed a little bit of your conversation because I was looking that up, but do you have any any comment on, adding the felony? Or do you prefer the Senate bill that does not add a felony?
I think that the House bill that has the felony is to be made more clear. You know, whether or not it is, you know, with malpractice without a license or animal cruelty.
Well, it's saying that if you do, these things,
Yeah,
these things, then it's a felony. These things are what are a felony.
oh, okay.
Doing A through F would be a felony. It's very specific.
I guess the question to Dr. Nishimura and Dr. Wood is that it's the amount, right? To have something in the statutes as far as a monetary amount to stay in the statutes for a misdemeanor at this amount and then a felony at this amount. I don't know if other states even specify a dollar amount in their statutes, that perhaps just the classification of the, whatever the, and then leave it up to whatever that, agency that would decide what the fines would be to decide on the amount.
Yeah, and so this, usually when there's a dollar amount in your statute, it gives RICO a parameter. You can't go above this. This is saying it's a felony, so it would go to, that's criminal, that's not the board can't do, the board can't say someone's convicted a felony, someone say, this is the law, that it's a class C felony if they do these things, then the court would impose, yeah?
Right, even the misdemeanor too, though.
Yeah, even the misdemeanor, so,
Because it's capped right now, it says, right? No
Yeah.
more than,
not to exceed, no
yeah,
more than that.
or verse, like, if we're gonna redo this to suggest a minimum instead of a cap for dollar amount.
Well,
or
I
take it
think
out.
it's standard that you say not to exceed, because if you do a minimum, then that means they can go as far as they want for the maximum. They could go $25,000 on the maximum, or 50,000. So, so I think I don't know what the other laws in the state are, what a class C, what the may not exceed dollars are, but I can only guess that whoever put this together looked that up. Or that the people that go through the bills for legality would have caught it if it's the wrong dollar amount, or they will go through it.
Personally, I would be in favor of raising the fine, but would you be able to contact well, not state boards, yeah, I guess would be them, AFB, SB, to see what other states' penalties are in similar conditions?
I can put a question to them. The question is, how quickly could they get back to me? I'm gonna have to do testimony here. As soon
Okay,
as they let me know, it's time to let them know what we think about this. Generally, when we get a bill, we write up our testimony even before they tell us the
Right.
hearing coming up, because we have to have it reviewed by our administration and get it submitted. So, I mean, I could, but it takes them, a couple weeks
Right.
to get back to you. I could do a search and see if that question has been asked before.
right,
Because they keep those previously asked questions on a database I can look up. But if it hasn't been asked, I don't have the information.
Yeah, I
Are you,
think
go ahead.
finding out what other states do would be helpful, Carrie. The felony seems pretty harsh.
Pretty harsh
Just
to me too.
think-
Yeah.
People, in my mind, that could be turned in for something like this, and then they're convicted of a felony, and what that
Right.
would do to them. And I don't believe it's, some of these people, as I say, these are good people who care for their animals. Wouldn't, it's nowhere near animal cruelty. I just
Right.
don't want the law to become so, the
Fair,
law,
I
I
guess.
think, could be abused, yeah.
So I'm trying to, put this in context for what I need to do. I understand you feel like the felony is a little harsh of a disciplinary action to someone. But you're saying if other states do similar things, you're okay? Because you want me to look up what other states do, so I'm not certain what my marching orders are. You want me to see what other states do? If they have felonies for these types of activities.
And I do.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Lisa.
No, go ahead, Greg.
Well, in my opinion, 500 is too low. So we can just say, our comment is $500 fine is too low. At least for the Senate bill, and you can do whatever on the higher side. And then on the criminal part,
Mm-hmm.
a felony does sound like it may be possibly excessive, but depending on what other states. The standard it is in other states would be taken into consideration.
Sorry, Dr. Nishimura, just to clarify for myself. So when you're referring to the 500 in the Senate bill, 25 to 62, is that the one so I'm looking at the same thing.
Right.
Because that one on page 4, line 8, it's for a misdemeanor. So are you asking Carrie for both like misdemeanor dollar amount as well as what other states are doing for misdemeanors and as well as felonies? Because the House bill refers to felony. They added felony in there. But the Senate bill is just the misdemeanor that I see on page 4, line 8. Am I misreading that?
No, that's correct. So the Senate bill doesn't change
Yeah, there's no
uh,
reference on
471-15A. It doesn't change the misdemeanor and the $500 fine. That's exactly the same as it is right now in our statute.
And
All they did was take the second paragraph
Mhm.
of 471-15 and make it B instead of just a second paragraph.
And they did take out just change the pet animals to dogs, and then for line 10 illustration, they didn't add pet animal to that. They just stopped at the abandoned, and that was it.
Yeah.
And there's no additional language regarding felony.
And
in
there's
the
no
Senate.
felony in the Senate bill. Yeah, there's only felony language in the House bill.
Okay, I just want to clarify that.
Yeah.
Amazing that the house is really pushing.
Mhm.
Right.
So,
The only thing I could think of is that they wanted to make it where people would think twice before committing some of these. It's not for the good, honest dog raising, breeding programs. I mean, I think this is meant for the ones out there that don't care and are just doing violations. And since we do not have any laws in effect, they can get away with it. I mean, that's to me, I mean, the nice good guys, yeah, they're gonna more or less abide. But I think these laws was meant for those few unfortunately, small percentage that are not following the law. You're talking about animal cruelty, puppy mills, that sort of thing. So that's the difficult part. It's not for the general, it's for that specific percentage of animal owners that are not abiding.
So I guess Dr. Kishimoto, just to clarify, to help Carrie, and I don't need to speak for you guys,
Yeah.
but to touch base, I guess to find out about what other states are doing. So we kind of want to see what they have for misdemeanor and felony, if they have a felony type of convictions in their statutes for their states then. Is that kind of like what we're asking Carrie to look at both, to kind of see both types of convictions, misdemeanors and felony, or whatever they have in their statutes?
I don't have a problem with misdemeanor as it stands.
You
I'm
got 'em.
just wondering if it's fair or appropriate that we bump it up to a felony. It might be, I don't know. We might be behind the times and I don't know.
So the felony would be only for those items listed on page 2, and we've already told them that we would prefer them to take out tail docking, yeah? And it's for dogs, we're gonna say for dogs. So if someone did any of these other things on a dog, except for tail docking that we're asking them to remove, that we're gonna testify that we'd like them to remove, it would be a felony. So these appear to me to all be surgical,
Right.
except for that illustration, right? That's the banding, the castration banding isn't surgical, but it looks like everything else is surgical. So, so would you think that, so I do some sort of veterinary care on my on a pet that's not mine, right? So I'm in violation, and so that's a misdemeanor. But if I go in and do surgery, I'm doing a cesarean on a dog. That does seem to be, to me, to rise a little bit more serious than a misdemeanor. I've taken a scalpel to an animal that I'm not trained to do surgery on. I've cropped their ears. I've tried to, what the devocalization, that seems like it could really hurt the animal pretty badly with the scalpel. Maybe a felony is not out of line for those items. But how about, since it might take a while to do research on many states, you give me 3 or 4 states you'd like me to call and talk to the executive director, like say California, Oregon, what other 2 states might you want me to talk to? Texas, and one more. Colorado's a good state.
Michigan,
Yeah. Michigan?
Colorado or Michigan, yeah.
Okay, whoever I can reach first. Okay, so if they have both felony and misdemeanors, so if none of them have felonies for these types of things, I can do testimony saying it doesn't seem to be standard practice to have felonies for these, and the board doesn't feel right about that. But if they do have, but if the majority of these states have felonies for these types of things, are you okay with leaving this language as, because it seems like standard practice across the profession?
I'm okay with that.
What do you say, Dr. Good? Because remember, we're going to ask them to remove docking from the list.
I guess I would like to hear back from them. I'm doing a quick look at California, and they have different levels of animal cruelty. And when I look at this list of surgical procedures, these don't strike me as cruel. They, the reason these procedures are done are to improve animal welfare and in some cases improve the value of the animal, like the ear cropping. And it is illegal for someone to do that if you're not a licensed veterinarian. But the people that are doing them that are not licensed, they do get training. Some of them, and not all. You know, it's not like they're just taking a pair of scissors and cutting off their ears. I'm a little bit.
Unfortunately, there are those people that do that.
Yeah.
Right, and I think that's what this bill is trying to address. But I'm hesitant to pass laws that could negatively impact people that are just trying to do the best they can for their animals. I hard time with that.
I guess it's a matter to if it's a personal animal they're working on, or if they're inviting other people and to do that procedure on, and
Right.
because that does happen.
So this is specifically says that the owner or the owner's employee, if they hire Joe Schmo, they're already in violation of the law.
Right.
If they're contracting with someone to come in and do this, that's not licensed.
Right.
So they're already in violation.
That's
of the
against
law.
the law.
This is specifically for the owner of the animal or their full-time regular employee.
And treating animals that belong to them.
Treating animals that only belong to them or their full-time employer.
Yeah, so even less criminal potentially, in my opinion, on those.
Okay, so I'm up against the wall here. I need to start writing testimony, and I'm already got 3 to 5, 4 or 5 states to call to see if they have felonies for these types of things or not.
I guess we would have to be for owned animals, right? Versus them doing it in the public sector.
Yeah, and I'd have to let them know that. But Dr. Wood just said she wanted to hear back from them, and I don't know that I have time to get back to you. I kind of need you to tell me if A, then this, if B, then this, because I've got to get this written up. I've got two other bills I have to write testimony on as well.
Or we can say we have no comment until we get more information on those.
We can say that. We
Yeah.
can say that we're looking at standard practice in other states and don't have comment on this section at this time.
I guess the other thing too, Dr. Wood, because what you're saying is kind of resonating with me in the sense that, kind of like what Dr. Nishimoto was saying, is like, if the owner of these animals, they are thinking of the best welfare for their animals, right? So perhaps would it be better to change the language to remove owner and say if these procedures were done, you know, just willy-nilly, kind of like these individuals that are just doing it. I don't know. Because you kind of mentioned, Dr. Nishimoto, those guys are probably very minimal because they would care more about their animals and they wouldn't be as reckless. I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there.
Well,
Sorry.
no, I'm trying to think through how that would work in the wording of the bill.
There's something like, individuals performing any of the procedures below for dogs are not owned by these individuals and are performing these procedures.
I think it would have to if that's what you're going for, I think a better wording would be any person convicted of practicing veterinary medicine without a license, without being duly licensed in the state of Hawaii, with the exception, with excluding those listed in 471-2, those are the exceptions, right? Those are the people who do not need a license, shall have committed a Class C felony. That would cover all those people that, you know, I'm gonna hire Joe Schmo from down the street, I'm gonna give him $500, he's gonna dock all my dogs. But he doesn't own the dogs, and he's not a licensed veterinarian.
Mm.
Or I'm gonna get Joe Schmo to come in and make it so my dog can stop barking all night long and get my neighbors angry at me. But that person isn't a full-time employee, and they don't own the dog. They're just coming in to do it because they took a seminar somewhere and they know how.
So currently in Hawaii, is it just what is the penalty for practicing without license? Is it just a misdemeanor?
I have no clue.
Yeah.
I guess so. I guess yeah, it'd be that misdemeanor. Any person convicted of violating section 472 shall have committed a misdemeanor and be subject to a fine.
So the owner is getting penalized more than somebody that might be charging for it, according to this law.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, that's not consistent, I think, with the goals of the law.
I think you're right, because if you read it right, it says that currently anyone who's violated 471-2 is a misdemeanor. But an owner who's violated 471-2 is a Class C felony.
Yes, that's not right.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay,
We can just make that statement that it cannot be worse than,
Joe Small.
Joe Schmo.
right.
Okay, let me see how to, let me write something down here.
So the Senate bill keeps the same
Right.
penalty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the owners cannot be treated more harshly than somebody commercially doing it. That's not.
Okay, I'm gonna work on the wording for that as well. And get that to you. But I will also call the other states.
Okay.
Yeah, it seems like maybe we want to flip that, right?
Right,
An owner
exactly.
is in violation, that it's a misdemeanor and $500. If anybody random out there does it, that's a felony, right? They don't even own these animals, they're just trying to make a buck off of them, right?
Right, if you're gonna criminalize anything, it's the other
Okay.
way, yeah.
All right, let me work on that wording, and it's inconsistent with the goals of the law that an owner is held to a higher standard than a commercial enterprise, something like that.
Right.
Okay, I'll work on that. So that's kind of where the Senate bill stops, but the House bill continues. see, section 4 talks about Hawaii Revised Statute 711-1108.5. That's the cruelty to animals chapter. What constitutes cruelty to animals in the first degree? So, subsection, the way the law currently reads is subsection 1A, which is the offense of cruelty to animal in the first degree. Subsection 1A shall not apply to accepted veterinary practices. Stop. That's A. The House bill would change it to be subsection 1A shall not apply to accepted veterinary practices when the practices are performed by a veterinarian licensed under chapter 471.
As long as we change the language to dogs and limit it to that, I will be okay with leaving that there, but otherwise I would be opposed because it is restricting our normal production practice.
Okay. So long as those list of items are specific for dogs, yeah? Okay. What about you, Dr. Michelle?
Yep, I'm okay with that.
Okay. Okay, and
I would
then,
probably,
go ahead,
I
I'm
would
sorry.
just eliminate the last statement, statement C.
Statement C, yeah, that's what I was just going for. You would prefer to, eliminate that based on our previous testimony about neonatal puppies.
Yes, I would just delete that statement. Do you know, Carrie, if these laws or these bills were introduced or these being introduced on behalf of the Humane Society or any other veterinary group, or what was the reason for
I'm sorry, I meant to look up to see who had introduced the bill, but I did not get around to doing that. I apologize. So I do not know who has requested this.
So Nishimoto introduced the House bill. He's actually my representative, so I can talk to him. And Senator Lee introduced the Senate bill. Yeah, I can talk to
Okay.
Rep Nishimoto.
Okay, so just you can do that, yes, but recall you're doing it as a private citizen, not as a member of the board, because that would be a communication by the board outside of a board meeting and in violation of the Sunshine Law. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I think I have my information for both the House bill and the Senate bill on these two. I will definitely work up my testimony and give you the language I'm going to use on those two items before I submit it. So expect that today or tomorrow. And then I will also start making phone calls about best practices on the misdemeanors and felonies. The next one we need to speak about is Senate Bill 3262. I lost my agenda. $32.62, thank you. The purpose of this bill is, it would rename the John A. Burns School of Medicine Special Fund as the Physician and Veterinarian Special Fund. Expands the authorized use of the special fund to include providing loan payments to veterinarians and scholarships for students attending a veterinarian college. Provided that the recipient commits to work in the state for a period of time determined by the Hawaii Board of Veterinary Medicine. Requires the Hawaii Board of Veterinary Medicine to establish a loan repayment and scholarship program. Assesses a fee on persons obtaining or renewing a veterinary license. Provides for the deposit of the fee into the Physician and Veterinarian Special Fund, appropriates monies into and out of the Physician and Veterinary Special Funds, declares that the appropriations exceeds the state general funding expenditure ceiling. Do you guys want to put together a scholarship and loan prepayment fund and manage it and tell people where they need to work in order to qualify and track them to make sure that they're still employed? This is really outside the scope of this board. Really outside the scope of this board. So
Greg, this is your classmate that introduced him.
So the concept, I think, that Senator Richards proposed this was not to make work for everybody, but I guess the state has a fund already available to physicians that subsidize their loans. So he wanted a similar thing be available for veterinarians.
yeah, so there's a couple of issues I have. Number one, it's not the mandate of this board to do scholarships or loan repayment or track where veterinarians work. That he's given us a lot of work in this bill. Okay, there's a lot of work in here that this board is not mandated to do. If you go to page 3, the bill would require the Hawaii Board of Veterinary Medicine to establish and administer a loan repayment and scholarship program.
Yeah, that's beyond our scope.
Okay, number 4, establishing a fee to be assessed on persons obtaining or renewing a veterinary license. I don't think that the doctors have a fee that they have to pay into their fund. That means that every one of you would be assessed a fee to help other people get a scholarship or repay their loan.
And the problem too is you're going to be hurting the people that benefit from the loan program because they have to get a license too.
Yeah, everybody has to get a license.
Yeah, so even the new grads with loans have to pay that fee.
Mhm.
So that doesn't quite make sense to me.
We'd also have to, line 6, would require the University of Hawaii and the Hawaii Board of Veterinary Medicine to enter into an intergovernmental agreement or memorandum of understanding regarding the administration and use of the Physician and Veterinary Special Fund. The University of Hawaii doesn't have a veterinary school. So so here's the thing, Johns Burns has a medical school. Yeah, that's the medical school. So they can give scholarships to their students. How would we give scholarships to students in Oregon and Washington and Colorado and so there's that.
Carrie, I would oppose the bill as it's written right now. I support the intent, but it's beyond the scope of our board for sure. I do support Dr. Richards' intent, but as written, I would oppose this bill.
Thank you. That's what I was
Yeah. And the board's, I guess the board's involvement in administering this type of bill.
Okay, and it's beyond our scope in administration.
Yeah, the intent is good. I
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
intent. Yeah.
Really. Um,
Did he not talk to the board at all before he wrote this bill?
no one reached out to us. I take that back. He asked me how many licensees we have.
Okay,
Yeah,
And then I guess another comment would be, you're gonna be putting a fee on the people that need the financial help, that the way it's written.
financial. Okay,
Sherry, this is Sherry.
Hi,
Yes.
Sherry.
Hi, good morning. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to step away, and if you still are meeting when I return, I'll rejoin.
Can't
okay,
hear you, Sherry.
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
thank you, Sherry.
Sherry said that she has to step away and that if we're still meeting when she comes back, she'll join us.
Oh, okay.
She may be gone for the remainder, depending on how quickly we get through the rest. This is the last new bill. The last three are gonna be really fast. Are there any other comments? We've got that we support the intent. It's beyond the scope of the board's mandate. You know, we're here to protect the public and to make sure that applicants are, meet the minimum qualifications, right?
Right.
It puts a fee on the individuals that need the financial help. We're also going to, there's another thing they want us to, on page 4, start in line 4, line 5, in addition to any other fee authorized under this chapter, the board shall assess a veterinary workforce development fee of $60 on each person obtaining or renewing a license. Is that a different fee? Or is that the same fee that they talk about over here, number 4? They say we're gonna establish a fee. And then this is, I guess this is the fee we're gonna establish.
He's calling it a veterinary workforce development fee.
The fee shall be transferred into the physician special fund. Payment of the workforce development fee shall be required to obtain a renewal license.
So maybe that's how it's sustained.
I guess that's it, yeah. It's gonna take a long time to build up any money at $60.
Yeah, no, I think he was trying to tap into money that was already allocated.
Oh, that money's been allocated for physicians.
I know.
Scholarships to students attending a veterinary college that meets the standards established by the board. So we get to, they want us to establish standards on what schools someone should go to. Provided that they work in the state after graduation for a minimum amount of time determined by the board. They really want us to develop an entire scholarship and loan repayment program from the ground up.
So I don't know if other board members are aware, but there is a program called WICHI funding.
How do you spell
So
that?
yeah, now that
Those things.
Hawaii has their own pharmacy school, they don't participate in WICHI, I would think so, but before they had a school, WICHI funding helped Hawaii students go to veterinary school. It's a limited amount of funding, but that's what a similar program they had, and they tried to require students to come back to the state and work, but it was only a one line at that when I had it. It was only a one line statement. There was no legal penalties if you didn't come back and practice. So I don't know
Okay,
how this would
what's
work.
that? Spell that for me?
WICHE.
So it stands for something like Western State.
Yeah. Yeah, Western
Okay.
Interstate Council for Higher Education.
But it was like, it would give us like in state tuition, right? Because that's what
Right.
it was. Francie. So Oregon participated, Washington State. I think and then I guess California too, but then you would only have like one recipient. I mean, it was pretty.
Yeah.
Pharmacy
Yeah,
anyway.
it's minimal right now in
Yeah,
veterinary
it
medicine,
only
maybe
funds
2.
them.
Yeah.
So I think that we can just keep it short and sweet that while we support the intent of this bill, it is beyond the board's mandate and capabilities to develop and administer a scholarship and loan repayment program. And that it puts financial burden on people that would need the financial help through the fee that they would have to pay. Is there anything else you would like me to say about that, Bill? I mean, I can keep the testimony very sweet.
No, I think that's good.
Yeah, that sounds good. You might include a statement that we recommend a working group be formed to
Yeah.
further investigate this idea, because again, the concept is great. But as written, we don't have the capacity to admit.
Actually, the easiest one, I don't know how you're gonna do it, since the physicians already have something set up, whether or not, join the research group to speak to the doctors association to see whether or not, they can, like, allow the veterinarians to be like a subchapter or, like because they're already organized, right? So maybe the veterinarian could be like, subchapter and take advantage of whatever they have set up. That to me would be the easiest way to try to resolve it. Having a committee to research whether or not that would be possible.
Well, that would be the working groups.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I think I'm good on that one. Thank you so much. That one went a lot faster than I thought it would. Got bogged down in another one. I thought would go fast. So the last three bills, House Bill 1512, which would limit the civil liability of Good Samaritans who render emergency non-medical care and emergency non-medical assistance to animals in an emergency. House Bill 220, relating to the spaying and neutering of animals, establishes a spay-neuter fund and allows funds from an income tax checkoff to be deposited into the spay-neuter fund. And SB 998, relating to the spaying and neutering of animals, establishes a spay-neuter fund, allows funds from an income tax checkoff to be deposited in the spay-neuter special fund and appropriates funds. Were all carryovers from last legislative session, and last legislative session, because this didn't affect our statute, we were just tracking them to see where it would go. So I recommend just tracking again this year, see if they move forward. You all okay with that? Yeah?
Yep, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, what's that?
Thanks.
You're okay with that? Yeah.
Yep.
All right, so that's all our bills. There's only one last thing on the agenda, and oh, I'm sorry, Chair, do you want to ask if there's anyone who wants to give us any?
So, is there anyone who would like to provide any testimony on agenda item 3?
Thank you, Chair. We do not have anyone requesting to provide testimony.
Okay,
Thank you, Johnny.
thank you so much. I'm sorry, I just jumped ahead of you. I put it on this agenda because by the time we meet next time in March, registration will be closed. The Board Basics and Beyond, which is a program offered by the AAVSB, will be held in Kansas City, April 12th through 13th. You do have a quick information sheet about what that entails and what the options are there. The registration fee is $250, which generally the attendee pays. AAVSB will pay for one of our board members to fly and have a hotel room. Ms. Wada has expressed interest in attending. She's attended before, felt it was very good training. However,
No, not this one, Dr. Nishimura attended, right?
Yeah, I attended.
I never went to a board meeting.
oh, you did not go to board.
That's why I would like to.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you did.
Because like next year is my last year, so,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh,
or I could probably,
I'm so sorry.
how did you enjoy it?
I thought it was really worthwhile, so
Yeah,
all
yeah,
of
yeah.
all of you, whoever hasn't gone should try to go. You'll learn a lot.
Yeah.
So,
I guess I was reading the content, because I just thought it would be, because I've not gone to anything at all. But, so I was just more curious just to kind of like understand more of the board and everything,
yeah,
just as chair, but, I mean,
yeah, so
I know that Dr. Wood either. if she
Dr.
might be
Wood, would you
interested.
be interested? We have airplane and room covered for one board member, so, we're just trying to. be equitable here.
This spring, I'm already committed to a meeting, so I wouldn't be able to attend this year.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay.
Thank you, though.
Okay, thank you, and I know Ms. Slaughter is interested in going, and Dr. Chuck is interested in going. You have one more year, and you've been to the annual meeting. You guys want to arm wrestle?
Okay, so I just say, it's either this year or I can try for next year, and I'm, you know, before my term is ended, so. I'm not, you have how many more years left?
Well, it's not so much years, it's because of the position.
Oh.
I just want to learn more from
Yeah.
other boards,
Oh, no,
just to help me
it's-
at least function in the capacity as chair to be a little bit more versed in just
Okay.
veterinary medicine.
It makes sense, it makes sense. Yeah. So if you want to go, we can go, and I'll try next year, and
And
as
or
long
else
as
you could
nobody
be
else.
an alternate in case something comes up with me.
I have to start making plans, that's why I asked her to, put it on the agenda. To put it on the agenda because, one, your name goes in by March 8th, they don't make room for an alternate. I mean, so,
Not for this,
not for this,
for the
yeah,
annual
so,
meeting, yeah.
right, that would be the
And
only.
did they ever call you to get you on a committee?
Yeah, so I'm on the convention committee.
Oh,
So basically, I attended the national, not as a board member, so that opens up two board members to go.
okay.
Because
Well,
I go as a, like, yeah, so
that's part of the committee, yeah.
yeah, so we
So
did.
they cover their travel then as a community member is?
Same thing for the annual,
Mm.
board and basic is something totally different,
Mm.
and so, yeah, I mean.
So, I mean, Dr.
Yeah,
Nishimura,
I think the chair would be real beneficial to the board if the chair can go. But just to see how it runs and
yeah, I was reading
the
the
current
curriculum
concepts.
stuff and just the working nuts and bolts kind of thing.
right,
Yeah.
and hear the concerns of the other
Mm.
state boards.
Well, thank you for that feedback.
Okay, so if we're okay, then we'll have Dr. Chow sign up for this one this time.
Yeah.
Okay, and we'll put you down for next year. Yeah?
Yeah.
But I hope so, you know,
Okay.
because I would like to go, because it is informative, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Last year I couldn't go, and the year before that was.
Yeah, so, oh, see, I forgot that you couldn't go. I remember we talked about you, but I forgot that it ended up not going. I forgot.
Yeah, no, and.
Yeah.
And then the one that. Dr. Lucy, Okay. So,
Okay, I think that was it. Yeah, Sharon?
Okay, so, I guess what we have right now. Our next meeting is Wednesday, March 13th. Is that date still good for everyone?
mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there being no further business before the board, then the meeting is adjourned at 11:49. So, yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for all your
Thank
help.
thank you,
Appreciate it.
thank
Thank
you,
you. Have
bye.
a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well,
There's so much work to do.
It's actually nice having Dr. Woods because I think when they're in that